Today is story time. So I'm coming today with 5 stories of when things went wrong while I was traveling. Okay, so I'm going to I have a list over here of the 5 stories, and I'll tell you each one. Okay, and this starts in 2016, about when I started my channel. So the first one was in 2016. I was heading towards the Grand Canyon, and before I left, I was leaving from Kansas to go to the Grand Canyon. I was about an hour outside of Albuquerque when this happened on Interstate 40. And my brother, my dearest older brother, he says, "Let me check your fluids, your oil, your transmission fluids, all that." Okay, he did. He didn't latch the hood down. So I'm driving, and then all of a sudden the hood just comes up. Like it didn't go all the way up, but it was doing this thing, and a little bit of panic. It was nighttime. I was scared. I hadn't been that far. Pulled over. I was traumatized. Moving right along. That was that. But it was okay. So the second one, because that was the first story. So let's see. The second story, let's do. Okay. So I was in, Mackinac Island in Michigan. And I was coming down south through Michigan. And actually, it was before I hit Mackinac. I remember something hit the bottom of my car when I was driving in Wisconsin. And I thought, what was that noise? And when I woke up in the morning, I had all this fluid on the ground. I thought, oh, I must have like an oil leak or something. And I went to have my oil changed. And the guy, he was like, "Oh my goodness, you have a crack in your transmission pan." I said, "Oh no, you need a new transmission pan." But I was lucky. I was able to drive it to the mechanic in Gaylord, Michigan. I was there a couple days though, but it was really nice. There was a lot of stuff to do there, and I've got that taken care of. So that was a little scary, but it was about $600, I think, but it was all right. And I had a good time while I waited, so that wasn't so bad. Okay, so the third story, let's see. All right, this was the most recent. And there was a lot more than 5 things. It's just 5 off the top of my head. So the fifth one was I was traveling along the Mississippi River in the Mississippi Delta, and I looked at the map and I thought, I'm going to go to Biloxi. So I started heading down that way, and they had a tornado had just hit the night before. I think it was in Rolling Fork, that area. And I didn't realize it because I was just traveling a lot, and I was running from this tornado. I thought I'll just keep on driving south. So it was getting late at night, and I was in Gulfport, Mississippi, and I was at the Love's, the gas station there. And I went and I got my gas, and I got in the car, and I thought, well, I'll pull over and look at the map a little bit more because I was getting tired and I wanted to take a nap. And all of a sudden, all my lights started flickering, and everything started going crazy. So I just left it parked there. I had to wait, I guess, until the morning. But there was a man that worked there, and he knew somebody that would come and help me, and I needed an alternator. So these guys, actually, I ended up having to stay the night there at the truck stop. But I stayed in my car, and in the morning they actually came. They took me and got an alternator for my car and put it on right there in the Love's parking lot. It was pretty awesome. That was Kenny and Larry. Yeah, shout out to you guys. That's at the Love's in Gulfport, Mississippi. They helped me out. That was in 2023. Hello, hi. Okay, so that was the third story. Let's see, the fourth one. Okay, so I saved the worst ones for the last. Okay, so the fourth story that I picked was in 2017. Now, I worked at I was working temporary at a seasonal job. And I saved up my money and I bought a little skateboard car. Well, I called it my little skateboard. And it's a Chevy Aveo, and a 2006 Chevy Aveo to be exact. And I had it, and I was like, I'm going to go to California, and I'm going to road trip to California. So I was all excited. I was leaving that day, and I just had the car maybe 2 or 3 days, and I was like, is that like, you'd get in the car and you'd be like, does that smell like gas? Is that gas? No, it's not. I just got this, used car, and I was all excited. So I was in denial, but you could definitely smell the gas. Well, finally, I was just getting ready to leave. I thought, I'll go get my oil changed and have them look. And sure enough, I had a hole in my gas tank. So I thought, now I need a gas tank. I'm going to California. How am I going to go to California when I have this gas tank that I need? So I called this guy that I know, and he owned this old salvage yard. He says, yeah, I have a gas tank. I said, how much? He's like, $60. I said, I'll be there in like 20 minutes or however long. He said, okay. So I get the gas tank. I go back to the guy. He actually puts the gas tank on the car. This is all within like 3 hours. I'm like, it's meant to be. I'm going to California. So I just leave a little bit later. Well, when I went to pick up the car, the man that put the new gas tank on the car, he was in my back seat, and he's looking, and he said, I just wanted to make sure that was clipped in okay. I was like, okay. And he's just really working at it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, he goes, oh, I'm sure it's okay. And I'm thinking, well, I hope it is. And he said, oh, yeah, it's definitely okay. I was just double checking. I was like, okay. All right. Keep that in mind. So I'm driving. I'm like going to California. But on the way, I thought, well, I'll stop in Moab, Utah. So I went to Moab, and I was driving down 191 South, and I was going to Antelope Canyon. Now, Antelope Canyon is about 2 miles north of the Grand Canyon. Not 2 miles, but 2 hours north of the Grand Canyon. And I'd already been to the Grand Canyon, and I thought, well, I'll go Antelope Canyon. I highly recommend it, by the way. So if you've never been to Antelope Canyon, check it out. You really want to go there. It's on the Navajo reservation land, I believe, and it's beautiful country out that way. Well, when I was driving, here I was in my new to me car, and I'm outside of Page, Arizona, about 50 miles from Page, Arizona. And there's nothing out there. I'm like, nothing, just these beautiful rocks and everything. All of a sudden, my car just stops. Just on the way to Page, I was going to be staying the night there. It's probably, I don't know, like maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was terrified. I had AAA, and I called them. I literally stayed outside of my car. I don't even know I was able to get a hold of them, and they were like, oh, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't, something about they couldn't send a driver out on the Navajo reservation. But for where I was, if you looked out, you could see this gas station, because I was real close to, crossroads, and there was a gas station maybe a mile or 2 down the road. And I'm freaking out, and there's random cars coming by, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. What am I going to do? I mean, we're talking nowhere. All of a sudden, this guy pulls up. I call him my angel. He pulls up. He says, ma'am, are you having a problem with your car? And here I am. I'm thinking, I don't know any of these people. I'm out here alone. And I'm, you just expect the worst. That way you can be prepared. That's how I work. So I'm looking, and I'm like, looking at this guy, and I'm like, can I trust him? I was like, yeah, I need some help. So he gets out of the car. I told him about the transfer, or, about the AAA, and he said, they wouldn't come out there, but he could help me. And he, for extra money, would go and help people that would break down on the road if he'd see somebody, because he was a little mechanic and handyman. And this guy, and thank you, Shane, if you're out there, if you're watching this, I still think about you and appreciate it. This guy took me in his car. I had to leave my car there, and I was terrified. I took my backpack and everything that was important to me in case they stole my car, I didn't know who, no offense or anything, but, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know the area, and I was in the middle of nowhere. So he took me like 60 miles to this town in Arizona, to this Napa. He said, my gas tank, the clip where the guy was checking out my car, the clip wasn't clipped right. So he didn't clip it right. Oh, I was so mad. But he took me all the way. It was like 50 or 60 miles one way to get a part so he could fix my gas tank, and then took me back, fixed it. We had a little bit of problem. He needed a jack. I didn't have a jack. I mean, I was traveling very stupidly. Um, I do not recommend that, but I didn't even have a jack. So we were trying to find a jack just to jack it up. So we were backing the car up, we had it neutral, up on this little hill so he could get under there and clip this thing under there. And so where the car was parked, there was like this road, and it's very hard to explain if you haven't been in that area, but it's almost like the town goes, or the houses, you'd go on this road and then it would go down. So you would go down and then you would see like this little community. Well, we went down there. We thought we'll just knock on doors, and he was he lived on the reservation, so people in the area knew him. So he said that people, they didn't like the outsiders there, because they had a lot of tourists that come through there. And he said if he knocked on the door, it'd be all right. So we went down, and he was knocking on doors, and like nobody, like you could see people peeking out their windows. Nobody would answer the door. But we just need a jack. I said, I'll buy one from someone. Nobody would answer. But we ended up the guy at the gas station. We drove down to that gas station at the crossroads, and he actually had one in his car. He loaned it to us, and we jacked the car up, and he put that thing on there. He charged me I think he charged me like $40. I gave him $100, and I should have gave him more, but I didn't have a lot more. So, but it was great, and I made it to Paige, and that was he was a godsend, definitely. So that was in 2017. That was the fourth one. Okay, so the fifth one was things went really bad, and I was the most scared of these five was in 2020. I was driving I was going to Big Sur's, where I was going on that trip. And I don't know where I was driving, but I don't drive so much at night anymore. But I was that day. And I was driving I don't know what the highway was, but it was outside of Bakersfield, California, and it was getting dark. And I had never been there. I was just driving, 2-lane highway. I was in the left lane, and it was really dark, and everybody's bumper to bumper, and it's pretty fast, traffic. And then all of a sudden, the car in front of me, I don't know if it's car or truck or what, it happened so fast. It was the rear was in the road, and I ran over it because there was cars in this lane, and there was no warning. It was just there, and all of a sudden, boom, and then I know it, bam, my tire blew out. I'm like this, and I get over on the side of the road. I'm terrified. I have no idea where I'm at. I know I'm near the city, and I'd only been to California a couple of times, and here I am driving around. I have no idea where I was, outside of Bakersfield. So I called AAA. I'm on AAA. I had a blowout. I get out of the car. The traffic's crazy. I get the car far over as I could. Tire was gone. So I get over, and I pull the car over, and I call AAA, and I was really nervous. I'm just nervous talking about it, and the car's zipping by, and I'm like, here I am. And I didn't even know where I was. I didn't know how to pin my phone. I mean, I've really traveled very ignorantly, and I recommend to be more prepared, but I was not prepared that night. Well, AAA, they pinged my phone. They figured out how to do that. And all of a sudden, and I asked the lady, I said, can you stay on the phone with me? And she said, yes. I said, so I'm just really scared because I don't know where I'm at. All of a sudden, and we're waiting on this, they called the truck, and he was coming. And before he got there, we're like 20 minutes, and I'm talking to this lady, and she was really nice. And this car. So I pull up on the side of the road in the car with the flashers on, waiting for the AAA. I'm terrified. I really was. I was really scared that time because I didn't know if I knew where I was, I'd have been a little bit better, but I thought maybe I might have been in a bad area. So this car pulls up, and I'm there talking to the AAA lady, and I said, ma'am, there's a car pulling up. And she said, well, it's not the AAA guy. And I was like, oh no. And it was a white car. And they pulled up in front of me, and I'm sitting there, in the car, AAA lady. And I'm like, reading her the tag on the car. I said, something's not right. And they backed that car up right up. I mean, you could not walk between my car and this girl. And I'm on the phone with the AAA lady. And I'm like, I turned my key on to turn the window down. I'm like terrified because I'm thinking, because the way, if you've seen the way she backed up, something went right. And she gets out, she runs over to my car, and I turn my window down. I said, I have a gun. And she said, oh, I thought you were my boyfriend, and took off running. And then she took off and got in the car, and, the AAA lady said, ma'am, is everything okay? I said, yes, yes. And I was terrified because I don't know if something was up with that. I don't know if they were running the roads and seeing, whatever, because I had a Kia Soul. And I don't know, those were very popular to steal apparently at one point. But so that was that. That was really scary. But the guy came and he changed my tire, and it was great. It was about 45 minutes, but he said that I was in an all right area, but he did think that was shady. So I was real nervous. So and now have a donut on my car, right? So I drive down to the Ramada Inn and I get a room. I had never stayed at a hotel in California at that point. Well, yeah, because I'd stayed with friends before. No, and me, I have. Anyways, I was not in Bakersfield. I'd never been in Bakersfield. And I get out of my car, I, get online, I check the review because I, don't know the area that I'm in, and making sure everything's fine, everything's great. Well, I get to the hotel with this donut on my tire, and I have this guy over on the corner of the parking lot. He's like looking at me. And at this point, I'm like, come on, buddy. You know what I mean? And then I'm like looking at him. I go, you got a problem? And he's just looking at me, And I'm like, run into the hotel. This is why I'm getting my stuff out of the car. And I run in. I'm like, man, I said, there's a shady looking guy out there watching me get my stuff out of my car and everything. She said, that's the security guard. And I go, really? She said, yeah. And I said, if they were both laughing, because I said, well, I was about to call the police on your security guard or go, ninja on him. But yeah, so yeah, that was number 5. I think I told you all. So yeah, that's all 5 of them. And that's story time for today. I just thought maybe I'd try something new. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. And I hope you have a great day. Let's just see if I can turn this off.